Hello everyone and welcome. I am One Welsh Sheep yet again, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking a look at Doom on the Xbox One. And I've been a very big fan of this series ever since I played it. I don't think I was around when it first came out, but I've been loving this series ever since I played them for the first time, and it's an absolutely phenomenal series. And after being stuck in development hell for God knows how long, this title's finally got released. Is it good? Is it bad? Well, all I can say, folks, is it's not all doom and gloom. The game begins as our unnamed protagonist, whom for the sake of this review I'll call Sergeant McFluffykins, wakes up on a stone slab surrounded by a ton of people who have become possessed by demons. After immediately shooting them down, you walk into the next room and come across power armor. You put this beautiful, sexy machine on and start exploring the facility that you were trapped in on Mars, which you quickly find out is overrun by demons. From here you set out to find the reason as to why this has happened. And honestly, this is all pretty much the plot amounts to, believe it or not, folks. And sure, there are characters talking to you as you play through the game, primarily through the use of hologram stations, audio feeds, and the extremely rare instance of a cutscene, but the story as a whole, it basically just takes a massive backseat to the raw gameplay of this title, and serves primarily as an excuse to simply go out of your way and kill shit. The gameplay itself is a simple old-school style first-person shooter in which you must maneuver Sergeant McFluffykins through a number of missions, clearing out objectives and killing any demons that you find amongst your pathway. Each and every mission in this game has its own unique objectives to accomplish, which usually boil down to go into a specific area within each map and killing every single thing that you find along the way. The level design itself is featuring what I can say is pretty much some of the best designed stages that I have ever seen featured in a single player campaign, with each map being completely non-linear for the most part, allowing you to happily explore at your own leisure. In fact, I would even say the maps are designed specifically with exploration in mind, as they are filled to the brim with an absolute ton of secrets to pick up. Be these in the form of small, cute little Sergeant McFluffykin figurines, hidden levers that unlock the classic Doom maps, and even suit upgrades and early weapon pickups from time to time. This sort of level design is an absolute breath of fresh air in an industry where first-person shooter titles are usually open-world slogs or simple linear cinematic pieces, as the levels themselves are tightly designed and built specifically with an open-ended nature in mind. In fact, I found the levels themselves offer a surprisingly large level of verticality to them, allowing you to leap from area to area in order to find extra locations or simply get a better vantage point while in the middle of one of the game's many gunfights. As a result of this verticality, one may feel the levels themselves are extremely complex in design, and I'm inclined to agree. However, while this is true, I personally feel they are all extremely tightly designed, and to my surprise, I've never found myself really lost in each of these stages for more than 5 minutes at a given time. In fact, this one jumping puzzle by here is the only real time I got confused while playing, and it was largely my own fault for not really paying attention to a specific ledge I kept running past like an absolute pleb. The general gameplay is also extremely fast-paced, much like many old-school shooters of the past. This in particular can be a turn-off to console players, as I find the more speed a game runs at, by and large you'll need a lot more accuracy in order to get through it competently. And while I got through the game myself just fine with the controller, this is definitely one I would recommend players to use the keyboard and mouse with in order to get the best experience. I also find the game itself doesn't fully hit its stride until about the 5th or so level in the game when you gain access to the double jump feature. Though that's not to say that the levels up until this point are bad. In fact, I was squeeing like a schoolgirl the entire time I was playing. But the double jump improves your maneuverability significantly, allowing you to soar through the levels, blowing up demons, just like Super Mario hopped up on cocaine, all the while having this massive fuck off grin on your face the entire time. Well, if you're anything like me, that is, you'll have a massive fuck off face. But one of the best things about this game is the ability to replay levels after you have initially cleared them, using items that you have previously obtained in later stages. For example, if you beat the 3rd level of the game, which honestly is one of my personal favourites, and you want to replay it after collecting a double jump to find all of the secrets, well, now you can. You will also very likely come across a large number of Easter eggs along your journey too, such as this dead fellow in hell who happens to have taken an arrow to the knee, a Terminator 2 reference when you die, and even something tiny such as a Vault-Tec Fallout reference on a door. I've always loved minor things like this being chucked into games, and honestly I feel most developers should give the time to chuck little nods in more often. They really make the game feel more like a passion project in the grand scheme of things, I feel. In terms of the environments that you will be traversing for the most part, you will be finding yourself obliterating the hordes of hell on the UAC facility based on Mars, and even eventually get to hell itself. Though while these 2 locations are the only real places you find yourself in, I feel the level design and the general aesthetics of each stage constantly change up enough to make it seem like you're not going through the exact same corridors constantly. Although in 1 or 2 instances I actually found the level design to be pretty copy and paste, but it's very few and far between. In fact, by and large, I found the environmental detail to be absolutely stunning to look at, with tons of iconic set pieces located throughout, and as I mentioned previously, the levels are well made enough that you generally will never get lost while exploring, which is an absolute feat considering how large and how complex some of these places can get. Keycards and key skulls from the original 2 Doom titles will also make a return here, although they are not as in large number as they were in those 2 titles. Essentially, from time to time, you will be required to locate a fallen UAC employee whom is holding a keycard to open up a specific doorway. Yellow keycards for yellow doors, for example. Though what may disappoint fans of the original Doom titles will be the fact that there is an objective marker at the top of the screen, which offers a way for the game to generally point you in the right direction if you ever get lost. Now, I understand that many fans of the classic titles would consider this to be dumbing down the gameplay, but honestly, I never really paid attention to it, and it was really handy whenever I wanted to simply blitz through each stage. Don't fret though, because there is a solution, however, for fans who want to play the game without any handy holy nonsense. Because the game itself offers quite possibly some of the best option menu selections that I have honestly ever seen in a video game, and honestly not enough reviewers are praising this. I'm going to be perfectly honest. More reviewers need to point this out because id Software need to be praised on its option menu. Because you can largely entirely customize your experience of the game through this options menu. It offers options for features such as crosshair options, the ability to disable the heads-up display, you can remove the objective markers, you can disable glory kill highlighters, which I'll talk about in a minute. You can completely decide how to approach this game, and if you don't like certain introductions that make the game easier to get into, you can simply flip them off with a switch. Hell, you can even change minor graphical options such as motion blur and chromatic aber, however the fuck it's pronounced, in the console version, which is extremely rare to find a console version of an FPS to have graphical options like this. So good on you, id Software, I'm proud. Honestly. Moving back into the gameplay, however, the game boasts a combat system called the Glory Kill system, which is essentially a system where you're able to weaken down enemies to low health. This will cause them to glow like a tree on Christmas morning. Press the melee attack button and you will do a fancy finishing move animation that will annihilate the enemy there and then. And you also get a small refill of 5 or so HP. Though, honestly, my thoughts on this mechanic are a bit of a mixed bag. Because, on one hand, I'm easily able to abuse this on weaker enemies such as Possessed that walk around the facility to gain a crap ton of health, and use this while in a pinch to keep myself in the battle when I'm really likely to die. But on the other hand, I find that occasionally I perform one of these glory kills only for the animation to get me caught up in a corner of a room, simply leaving me open to be mauled by an onslaught of demons. The animation for these kills, however, are literally pretty much a split second in length, so they don't affect the flow of combat too much. But considering the general pace that this game moves at, a split second animation could literally mean life or death. So I found myself essentially avoiding the glory kills unless I found it absolutely necessary in the final few levels of the game, where things get extremely hectic. The game itself also offers a large variety of weapons that you can get hold of to utilize in battle, each weapon with its own potential uses and upgrades that you can unlock throughout the course of the game. Throughout the use of these field drones that you can find during the levels that you are exploring. Nearly every single weapon in the game has the option to utilize 1 or 2 weapon attachments that you can find from these floating drones, which you are able to spend weapon upgrade points on that you earn from clearing optional objectives, as well as exploring and generally playing pretty well, in order to completely customize your guns to suit your playstyle, allowing combat to continue staying as varied as you want it during the course of the game. When you pick up an attachment for your gun too, you aren't locked out of the other available attachment, which honestly I appreciate. And once you've unlocked both of them, you are simply able to swap between them at the press of a button, allowing you to essentially think ahead and plan out future enemy encounters if you are aware one is coming up. Although, personally, I never do this. I generally stick with the Leroy Jenkins school of gaming and simply jump into the middle of foes just to see how much carnage I can create in the middle of a fight. Weapon upgrade points are also used to serve as an end of level ranking as you get scored on your combat proficiency, as well as score based on how many secrets you find. Then this honestly gives the game an absolute great deal of replayability. If someone would like to collect everything possible and get the best rankings, go ahead, you can do that, you know, folks. The mainline weapons themselves, of course, aren't the only thing that you will be able to upgrade. The power armor that Sergeant McFluffykins himself wears can also be completely upgraded to offer abilities such as improved map systems, reduced environmental damage, etc, etc. To unlock these upgrades, you will need to locate a number of chips from the bodies of fallen UAC soldiers that are located throughout the course of the game. The process of this simply goes find body, loot corpse, upgrade, and go along with your merry way. But again, I love the ability to do this because the upgrades themselves can be used to help suit your playstyle. For example, if you're having trouble finding secrets, just upgrade your map system and boom, the collectibles themselves will start to show up on the map, although you will still need to work out how to get to them yourself. Find yourself getting killed by explosive barrels? No problem, just upgrade your suit environmental hazard system. Although moving back into the weapons outside of your main arsenal, you will also come across 2 super weapons during the course of the game. These come in the form of the chainsaw and the BFG 9000. Oh, I love that machine. These super weapons come with an extremely low amount of ammunition, and honestly, as a result of that, I rarely found myself using them during the course of the game. However, the chainsaw in particular serves, at least in my playthrough, as basically a pinch weapon. What do I mean by that, you might ask? Well, simply put, shooting thousands upon thousands upon thousands of demons will cost you quite a large amount of ammunition. And as you can expect early on in the game, you're going to find yourself running out of ammo quite a bit if you aren't observant enough to find the munitions in the environment. Especially as you won't have many of your weapons unlocked yet, and here is where the chainsaw comes in. Essentially, the chainsaw itself is a one-hit kill weapon, with the exception of boss fights obviously, that will annihilate any demons that you come across, ripping them into shreds. Whenever you use this weapon, you will be showered upon with an absolute ridiculous amount of ammunition. That's all pretty much guaranteed to refill your weapons to maximum capacity, all the while giving a satisfying death animation to whatever poor demon you decide to use it on along the way. Ooh! Let's see that again. Ooh! One more time. It makes me feel tingly inside. This sounds pretty overpowered, you might say. Well, you would be right if the chainsaw had a large amount of ammunition. Early on in the game, you'll find the chainsaw itself only has 3 bars of total fuel. If you kill a small mook like a basic possessed soldier, you use up 1 of these fuel bars. However, for any demon outside of the basic cannon fodder that you can pretty much have one-hit kills on anyway, you will be required to utilize an increasingly large amount of fuel with every consecutive kill. This makes it so you simply can't go around and spam the chainsaw on every single demon and its mother, so you basically need to figure out a way to become rather conservative with it, and honestly I find this to be a fantastic way to balance out the weapon so you don't abuse it too much. And the instances where I do get to use the chainsaw itself, I always find myself grinning spectacularly as I kill demons with it, especially as every single demon has its own unique death animation for the device, which I freaking adore seeing. Hell, I even occasionally spouted the occasional one-liner upon slicing an enemy into tiny little chunklets. Oh, would you look at the time? Gotta cut things short. Oh, you look a little hungry. Maybe you would like a slice? Looks like you are a cut above the rest. I'm sorry. The BFG 9000 super weapon is essentially an I win button. It annihilates absolutely everything in your path, with the exception of bosses, although it is useful against them. This weapon has only 3 possible charges available at a given time, and it is best used as a pinch tactic for whenever you are completely and utterly outmatched by the hordes of hell. In fact, everything in the room that you decide to discharge this thing in will basically explode into a mass of blood and guts. As you can probably guess, I love this big fucking gun. It makes me feel all tingly inside. As you explore the environment, you will also come across a large number of giant glowing runes. These, when found, allow you to complete a specific challenge mini-level they usually revolve around a specific gimmick. Usually these boil down to basically killing X enemies with Y challenge. For example, one of the rune missions that you have to complete lobs you into a massive arena filled with explosive barrels, and you will need to destroy the enemies using the explosions from these barrels. This particular mission is a pain in the ass, by the way. While another mission may have you moving through a linear corridor collecting items and trying to reach the goal within the time limit. These serve as a pretty challenging and neat way to change up the gameplay, although I feel a couple of them are a little more annoying than they need to be. Take this mission for example, where you can only move for a few seconds after you have killed a demon. Your reward for completing these rune challenges are rune buffs that you can use to improve Sergeant McFluffykin's skills. And they generally serve to be passive abilities that help you progress throughout the game. For example, you can get runes to improve ammunition drops or to perform glory kills from a large distance away. You are able to equip a grand total of 3 runes on Sergeant McFluffykins at any given time, once you have unlocked slots by completing a set number of rune challenges. There are also stat upgrades that are possible to be acquired through the use of Argent cells. These are glowy balls of energy that, when found, allow you to improve your maximum health, armor, or ammunition that you are able to carry at any given time. You can freely choose which one of these 3 stats to upgrade whenever you find an Argent cell in each level, and honestly I find this to be a brilliant incentive to go out of your way to explore, especially in regards to the ammunition buffs you can get, simply because not only does your total ammo for each and every single gun in your inventory increase, the total amount of chainsaw fuel you can hold at a given time is also improved, allowing more opportunities to slice and dice down any demonic fools who just happen to cross your path. Throughout the campaign, you are also able to pick up temporary power-ups such as Berserk, which sends you into a furious insta-kill melee attack mood, Haste, which makes you move faster, and so on. These are listed quite often throughout the course of the experience, and I generally found myself ignoring them, not because they are bad or anything or fun to use, it's just I'm flat out blind and I keep missing them in the campaign. Moving on, this game also features a multiplayer component which, if I were to describe it in a couple of words, I think this would be best called Unreal Tournament meets Halo, because it simply feels like a mismatch between those 2 titles. Unlike the main campaign, however, you are given set loadouts that you're able to modify and use throughout the course of your online matches. These loadouts limit you to 2 weapons at a single time, alongside a grenade / alternative use item of your choice. The choice of a 2-weapon limit, although, it really confuses me a great deal, just because the main campaign allowed you to hold over 10 separate weapons at once. And it's not like the online multiplayer games before this haven't had high weapon counts, you know, Unreal Tournament you could hold God knows how many weapons. Oddly enough though, there are more guns available to use online than even in the single player campaign, although you will likely need to unlock them. Outside of this however, online gameplay works in large just as you would expect, with a large number of game modes to choose from, each with their own objectives to complete, such as Deathmatch, Soul Harvest, which if I were to compare it, it'll be pretty much kill confirmed if you play Call of Duty, and King of the Hell, which in particular is handled slightly differently to how it normally operates. Normally, King of the Hill revolves around a point on the map where your team will try to stand on for a set duration of time, while the opposing team will be trying to do the exact same thing. However, in this game, the point that both teams converge on slowly moves throughout the course of the map, and honestly I think this is a fantastic take on this type of game mode. And it's so damn fun to work out the route of the actual point in order to set up ambushes future down the line in order to try and take it over. Fans of Quake and Unreal Tournament in particular may also be asking if there's any sort of element of map control much like in those titles, and the best answer I can sort of give is kinda. Throughout each of the multiplayer maps there are a number of points where power-ups and special super weapons will spawn. So keeping an eye on these areas and trying to manage them and maneuver to these points as quickly as possible is a key factor in doing good in online matches. However, because of the loadout system that is present, no normal weapons actually are available to be picked up from jumping to spawn points on the map. As a result, map control plays a much lower part in how well you perform in the grand scheme of things, and is a great deal more dumbed down in comparison to the previously mentioned games a lot of players will be comparing this title to. Along with that, the power of weapons that can be picked up are insanely overpowered, allowing you to easily kill other players with little to no work whatsoever, and offers other players little to no chance to fight back, resulting in a game that can be, while be fun, is definitely not balanced in the slightest bit. Speaking of these balancing issues, the multiplayer mode also sports a power-up in the form of a Demon Rune. When you collect this, you can become a demon of your own choice and utterly decimate other players while in a match. When you come across a Demon Rune, you essentially have the ability to insta-kill any player you come across with little effort. And while each of these demons have their own abilities, I feel ultimately they make a little difference outside of the different traversal methods each demon has, because the general effectiveness of each demon in each battle is largely the same. The demon power-up fortunately does have a time limit and its own health bar, and if either of these deplete to zero, you get ejected out of your demon form, and the rune can potentially become available for other players to collect. The time limit alone could have provided a decent enough debuff to the power-up, however I feel it simply lasts for way too long, and honestly it just outputs way too much damage for the transformation to be fair to the other players in a match. Don't get me wrong, it's fun as hell. Pun entirely intended. To decimate the other players with little effort, but it does remove the challenge of playing online and only serves to be a pain in the ass for anyone on the opposing team, making online matches a lot more frustrating than they need to be. The general map design, however, I have no complaints about. Each online map does its job perfectly and offers a decent amount of verticality with multiple routes to traverse. Upon completing a match online, you will earn experience points. As you gain more and more of these, you start to unlock more cosmetic items for your multiplayer character, alongside new weapons and equipment. And if I'm to be perfectly honest, I don't like this too much. Only because I personally feel that on a multiplayer match, all the weapons should be unlocked from the get-go. Otherwise, I feel things have a large potential to start becoming unbalanced. Fortunately, with as unbalanced as things currently are, I don't think the unlockable weapons change things up too much, and honestly, I don't think I've even ran into anyone using them. Well, while I was able to play online anyway. Either people have moved on from playing this game on the Xbox already, or Jesus Christ, the matchmaking system is a nightmare. I have found myself waiting up to 40 whole minutes waiting for an online match before I eventually gave up and moved on to a different game. This system needs to be improved, otherwise I can just simply see the multiplayer dying off quickly. Assuming that it hasn't died off already, that is. Outside of this, I simply find the multiplayer as nothing special in its own right, and it's just sort of there? And honestly, it comes across as the game having a massive identity crisis, because it seems to try to be a bit of COD, a bit of Halo, and a bit of Unreal, while excelling at none of them. Not to say it's terrible, I've enjoyed my time with the multiplayer mode, but honestly, it's clearly not the focus of the game. Although, the multiplayer mode does offer a shockingly in-depth character customization system. You can obviously change your armor color, etc, 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 as well as change the way the armor itself looks as you unlock extra pieces of armor through leveling up by playing online. And what surprised me is this customization screen allows you to not only customize your armor, but you can also change how the guns in your loadout look, as well as modify how scratched and worn the suit and guns are, and even choose how dirty the things look. This is surprisingly in-depth a customization screen for a game mode that largely feels like the developers didn't even know exactly what they wanted to do with it. And honestly, I welcomed it. I spent a large amount of time not even playing the game, just modifying my suit, and just enjoyed choosing how my online avatar would have looked in battle. You can even customize specialized taunts that you are able to play at the end of matches if you end up in a top 3 players podium thingy, which is pretty damn cool if I do say so myself. Moving on, it's now time to take a look at the Snap Map features of the game. Snap Map is essentially a level editor and level creator. Here, you are able to grab pre-made level chunks and super glue them together in order to make a full-blown stage for yourself, or for others to play. This map editor itself is pretty damn easy to use, and honestly can add an absolute great deal of time to the game. Honestly, it reminds me of the map editor back in Time Splitters. Through this, you can make wave-based game modes, deathmatch maps, co-op maps, etc, etc. The potential stages that you are able to create with this are pretty much endless. And of course, the game has a built-in tutorials as well to get you into using the map editor like a pro. Once you have finished your map, you will then be able to upload it to its servers, allowing other players to download, play, and vote on how good the map is. In fact, most of my time in Snap Map was largely spent playing other people's maps, because I really don't have the patience to go creating my own. What can I say? I'm lazy! The soundtrack in this game is also pretty damn good if I do say so myself. The music is definitely on point and really suits the situations that you find yourself in. If enemies were to gang up on you, the music will suddenly kick in and you get your heart pumping as you lay the smack down, yo. Graphically, the game is also pretty damn amazing with tons of explosions happening on screen, blood and guts flying everywhere, stunning environments, which if I'm to be honest can sometimes feel a little bit samey in a couple of instances, though for the most part the scenery is pretty varied. All this while running at a stable 60 FPS, simply making me feel all tingly inside as I annihilate the swarms of hell. The game's presentation is absolutely phenomenal, truth be told, right from the moment the title screen pops up all the while through right until the end. I adore how much love this game feels like it has put into it, and it definitely feels like a love letter to FPS titles of old, especially considering the story is in the background so much. I can literally count all of this game's cutscenes on one hand. And the holograms littered throughout the course of the facility on Mars, alongside demonic rune thingies that are located on Hell, are a fantastic way of building the world of Doom without necessarily forcing the player to bother unless they really want to go out of their way and pay attention to what's happening. Ultimately, Doom is a fantastic first-person shooter that harkens back to classic shooters such as Wolfenstein and, well, the original Doom. And honestly, it feels like such a massive breath of fresh air in a game genre that just feels stagnant in the industry right now. And honestly, it's just definitive proof that you don't need to redefine the wheel to make a fantastic game. This game holds its own without having to try and innovate too much. It's basically a simple go straight to the end, shooting everything game, and that's why it's so good. But with that is it for the review. So until next time, Sergeant McFluffykins. Until next time. Bye!
I'm willing to take full responsibility for the horrible events of the last 24 hours, but you must understand. Our interest in their world was purely for the betterment of mankind. Everything has clearly gotten out of hand now, yes. But it was worth the risk, I assure you.